going on, everybody? Today we're talking about using chord inversions for variety. So I'm just going to kind of stall until some people show up and talk about the wonder of chord inversions and what a chord inversion actually is. Welcome to the live chat, everybody. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do a half-an-hour lesson on chord inversions and just variety in general, because variety is a good thing to have in your life. And chord inversions are also a good thing to have in your life. So we're going to do a little bit of both today. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for a good old-fashioned QA. It can be about chord inversions. It can be about life inversions. It can be about pretty much whatever you want. No rules, no holds barred after 30 minutes. But first, 30 minutes of chord inversions. What is an inversion? What's a chord inversion? What a pleasant notification. I and mine. Welcome to the party, man. Always first on the scene. All right? Talking about chord inversions today. So let's start with the C major chord. Beautiful chord, root position. So before we understand what inversions are, we need to understand what root position is. Now every chord, hey, what's going on, Garav? I hope I said that right. Sean Daniel, will not hijack your lesson. All right, good. I appreciate the respect. So a root position chord, a chord is just a group of 3 notes or more that sound good together. C major chord, sounds great. A minor, chord that goes great with that. Those are both root position chords. What that means is the lowest note in that chord is the root note. What is the root note? So in any key, in any major key, there's 7 notes, like G major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any one of those notes can become a chord. So the first note in G is G major. The second note is A, the 2 is always minor. The third note is B, 3 is always minor. The fourth note is C, C is always major. The fifth note is D, D is always major. The 6th note is E, E is always minor. The 7th note is F sharp diminished, okay? So any of those notes can become chords. Now, what I just did there, I just played chords where the lowest note was that first note that we were talking about. All these chords are triads. That means they're 3 notes, all right? So any triad has a root position where the lowest is the root note, the chord that grew from the key tree of life, as I just now coined it. Copyright. And any of those can have 2 inversions. So there's a first inversion and a second inversion because they're 3 notes. So again, like a G major chord, when G is first. That's right. Even hush. So when a G major chord is first, that lowest note is a G, root position G. Now, if I were to play a G major chord, by the way, is a G, a B, and a D. We're going to talk about arpeggios later, but right now we're just going to assume that you know that a G major chord is a G, B, and D. If not, we'll get to that soon. But yeah, so if we had that second note first, a B, right? So if we started with a B as our lowest note, I can do the same thing. I'm just taking away that lowest note. I'm just playing the highest 5 strings. That's technically the first inversion of a G because the B is the first note. Now, again, we said a G, a B, and a D were the notes that made up a G major. So if I started with a D, the open D string, if I make that my lowest note and just play the bottom 4 strings, that would be a second inversion of a G major chord. So, G major chord, G, B, and D. When the G is the lowest note, that's root position. When the B is the lowest note, that would be an inversion, first inversion. When the D is the lowest note, that would be second inversion, all right? It couldn't be simpler, people. It couldn't be simpler. If you have any questions, let me know, please. So that works with any chord, all right? And these open position chords, and when I say open position, I mean any chord where the open strings are helping you out. A really good example of inversions, thinking of inversions without having to change your shape, okay? So we're gonna go over tons of inversion goodness right there. How is your intern working out? I'm about to switch interns. I fired my old intern. Actually, she went to college. Got another intern on the way in, right? So, G root position, first inversion, second inversion. They sound very similar just because I'm really just kind of subtracting notes from this. But we're gonna get more into higher things going on up on the neck, right? So, let's start with some different major chord voicings that we can use that aren't in open position that can be moved all over the neck. Because like I said, like a first inversion G, where that B is first, if we try that, doesn't work if we try to move it around. But now something like this can work out really well. So basically, G, first root position. We can make this a movable shape, and let's take it down to the 5th fret, QA at 30 minutes. Save your questions, I mind. We're going over inversions first. I'm gonna try not to get distracted today. I'm easily distracted oftentimes. So let's make this a movable shape, that root position chord, right? So on the low E string, when we root on the low E string, I know you can't help, but it's hard. Try to exercise restraint, please. So the 5th fret on the E string is A. If we did a G chord shape, root position like this, but on an A, we could grab an A, its major 3rd, and then its 5th. So now this is a root position A. I'm getting 5E, 4A, 2D. I can move this shape around. This is A major, this is B major, C major, D major, right? Just moving that around. Movable shapes are the key to happiness, really, among other things. The great thing about this movable shape right here is we can easily make it minor just by flattening the 3rd. Again, this is my root note, A. This is my major 3rd. If we flatten that, flatten meaning go down 1, we end up with a minor chord, A major, A minor. Okay, so this kind of fingering position is gonna come in handy with more inversions, but this can be kind of a stretch. So let's try to find some easier ones around the fretboard. Now, one thing that is really helpful is thinking in bar chords and using these as ways to identify inversions, but doing so without actually having to play a bar chord. Because for some of you, depending on how long you've been playing, maybe bar chords are super hard to do. You can't get them to sound clean all the way through. But in your mind's eye, right eye in mind, in your mind's eye, thinking of a bar chord can be really helpful because, again, we only need 3 of these notes to fulfill a triad chord, major chord. So let's just kind of cherry pick some of these notes out of this bar chord. Yeah, see, you got it. All right, so again, this major shaped bar chord rooted on the low E string, this is a G, is gonna be 3E, 5A, 5D, 4G, 3B, and 3E. Okay, now, if we're just trying to play a triad, a 3-note chord, this is actually overkill. I've got a G here, I've got a D here, I've got an extra G here, I've got a B here, I've got yet another D here and another G here. More than I need for just a triad. If we take the bar off and just focus on these 3 chords right here, 5A, 5D, and 4G, that's fulfilling a G major chord, right? Sometimes you have to rewatch the lesson to actually listen to watch what you're doing. Yeah, hey, there's no shame in rewatching these lessons. I mean, the entertainment value alone in these lessons is really invaluable. Sometimes I rewatch them just to see what was on my mind that day. What's on my mind right now is this inversion of a G major chord. So the lowest note I'm playing right here, if I'm just hitting the A, D, and G strings, is the 5th fret on the A string. What note is that? That is a D note. So this could be a second inversion right here where I'm thinking of my lowest note being on the A string, but my root note is actually on the D string. So here's the D string 5th fret, that's a G. You can octave down to find that. Looks like you'll be banned soon. I'm not sure how that works. We'll find out. Keep trying, we'll find out. Yeah. Wait, no 7-chord inversion. Oh, we're getting, Michael Cunningham, we're getting to the 7 chords, we'll get there. So how did these help? I take back what I said about waiting until the QA. Yeah, I know, obviously. Okay, so first of all, this is an inversion. You can think of this as the E major shape. Wherever your ring finger is where the root note of this chord is. That's why it's really helpful to learn the names of the notes. So anytime you see like a 7th fret on the E string, that's a B. What up, Mike? Good to see you, man. You see this is a B? You can play a B major chord like this, which is way easier. I think it's way easier than playing like a bar chord or root position bar chord or maybe even like a full bar chord. Okay? So we've got this regular old G chord, which we can transition into this inversion. Technically second inversion, whatever. First, second inversion, doesn't really matter. It's an inversion. Hey Sean, what's up, Kim? How's it going? It's going pretty well over here. Talking about inversions. Thanks for stopping by. So here is an inversion of a G chord. And again, this is movable, so this is a G, G sharp A, A sharp B, C. right? Okay, so we can kind of continue this on and on. So let's maybe find out where G is. We already said we've got a G on the low E string. We have a G rooted on the D string. What about on the A string? Okay, so maybe we start by finding the 10th fret on the A string is G. There's that other one that we did right here. Again, sir, what inversion of G will this be? Well, so again, in just major, there's just root position, first inversion, second inversion. So what we could do is we haven't done a first inversion yet that's not in open position. So we have to find out how to make a G major chord where B is the lowest note, and that'll give us another inversion. So we can kind of start hunting around and be like, okay, here's a B right here on the 7th fret. So maybe if we want to invert a G major chord, a G, a B, and a D, starting with this as the lowest one, we got to go hunting for another chord, right? Or another note. So I could find my G being right here. So that's kind of an interesting one, right? So I have a B, a G, and then I've got to find a D, okay? So I could be like, all right, maybe this one right here. This is kind of an interesting one. Now, if you think of the notes, you can actually grab the open D string here, and this is where it's really helpful to kind of know all the notes. Come on, fine monitor. Yeah. So right here, this is a B, a G, and an open D string. And that's I think that's a very interesting G chord inversion that we're kind of looking at, right? So we can start moving these G chords all the way around. I just screwed that one up. Another one I like to think of an inversion as being on like the top, the highest note, being where the root note is. So if I find the highest note on a G, and this guitar is cutaway, so this is a really good example of how you can find maybe the 15th fret on the high string is a G. So once we get here, we can do this, right? Now what this is I've got my root note on a D. Again, that is another second inversion. Be back in view. All right, we'll see you when you get back. I'm barring the 12th fret. In fact, that's all I have to do. I can just stick with these right here. Again, this would be an A major chord shape that's giving me this inversion all the way up to a G. I like that minor. Yeah. Yeah, we can add the 15th fret, a G on top, to kind of give it a different sound. Like funk guitar players, for instance, use a lot of higher voiced inversions. Yeah, if you drop the low E, right? So, you know, this would be, you could make a low E one here. Depending on the setting, this is where inversions are really important, is like, if you're playing with another guitar player, if you're playing with other musicians, and you don't want a big, thick sound, you want to find something that's going to blend, because maybe the singer's singing in this area, the bass player's playing in this area, piano player's kind of all over the place. You want to find the proper chord that is going to kind of help your sound cut through like the mix of different instruments. Adding variety to your playing. High E, that's right, boom, high E. Bam, there it is. Okay, now another one that I really like to use is a D major shape chord, like this guy right here. So a lot of times we see this and we think of the open E string as being the root note, D, right? But also your ring finger, wherever your ring finger is on the B string, that's gonna be the root note in this chord. So if we turn this into a movable shape just by playing the highest 3 strings and not hitting the open D string, now that becomes the G string. First string, second, third bar, root note, yeah. So again, the notes of D major chord, you know, you don't even have to know all the notes of it. It's super helpful if you do, is a D, an F sharp, and an A. So right here, this is the A, G, G sharp, A. So my lowest note is the 5th of the chord, but my root note is where my ring finger is. So I can find a G on the B string. I think it's easier to count backwards from B, so B to A to G. If I think of, what is the 8th fret? I can use this D shape rooted on the 8th fret of the B string, but inverted because my pointer finger is the lowest note. And then we can do all the cool things that we do with D major chords, like that suspended 4 thing. Now, a lot of times you'll see a D chord in the same key as G. So maybe like a G, D, C progression is something that you've seen a lot. You could play that, you know, and that could be kind of obnoxious. Now we can do the same thing with just this one shape. D, G, C. And it sounds a lot different now. Maybe C. And you're moving across the fretboard, which, let's face it, you want to impress people with your guitar playing ability. And people will be like, oh, look at all that expansive fretboard being covered by here. That guy or girl must really know what they're doing. Suspend all of them. I'm just using those two voicings. The high one we just did, where my pinky is the root note. So I can get a G major chord here. I can get a D major chord here, the 10th fret, that's where the D is. The 8th fret, where that C is. And then I can get the D-shaped chord here. 3rd fret is where my D is, my root note. The 8th fret, that was the 10th fret. The 8th fret where the G chord is, right? And then maybe the C chord, the 1st fret on the first fret after the octave bar, so the 13th fret, right? So I could go this chord, D to G, to C, to the octave D. I could go G, to C, to D, to the octave G. It's just moving around the fretboard with these different inversions, okay? So we've talked a lot about major chords, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. It's putting me in too good a mood, all these major chords. Let's go minor. It's time to get rocking, do some minor chord inversions. Now we talked a little bit about how you can flatten the third of any of these. So you can take these existing shapes that you already know, stealing that D voicing, but it's working on. That's nice. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, take that D, move that D chord all over the place. That's why it's really, like once you learn the notes on the low E string, curveball, skip a few of them, learn all the notes on the B string, because then you can always just pop that D shape in there. A lot of cool things you can do with this. Any of the caged form can be made in usually 3 different string sets. Yeah, so a lot of this is kind of, if you've ever heard of the caged chord system, that's kind of built on a lot of these different concepts that we're talking about. But we're just doing it in a slightly different way, as far as just taking chord voicings and rooting them on different notes within that chord. Now sometimes I'll even kind of misspeak sometimes. Like say, if I'm gonna play this chord right here, this is an A minor chord. Sometimes I'll say, oh, I'm rooting this on the 7th fret of the A string. Which, the root note of this chord is an A, which the root note is actually the 7th fret of the D string, but I'm thinking of the lowest note being at my root note. So sometimes I'll actually misspeak and technically, like if I'm talking to the musicians, be like, oh, I'm rooting here. That's not my root note if we get down to it. This is the lowest note that I'm kind of anchoring. So sometimes I might say that to totally confuse you. But am I doing that because I don't know what I'm talking about, or am I testing you? That is the ultimate question right here, and you probably already know the answer to it. So this guy right here, there you go. Good job. Reflect on your actions. Came up with some QA questions. Can't wait for the QA. You are a tester in the, oh, thank you, Mike. Thanks for, QA's coming in like 11 minutes. We're almost there. Minor chords. So this guy is stolen from the A minor bar chord voicing, right? Where if you don't know that, it's the same thing as the major one without your middle finger. 5E, 7A, 7D, 5G, 5B, 5E. Okay, now I can take that bar off and then just grab the 5th fret on the G string. A minor, G minor. So again, sometimes I might say I'm thinking about, I'm rooting this on the 7th fret of the E string, A string. That is an E, that is the 5th of the chord. So the root note is wherever your pinky is on the D string, okay? Now, in my mind, how I'm getting to this is because I'm intimately familiar with the names of the low E string. So I'm actually, in my mind's eye, once again, taking my pinky, and whatever note that is whatever note this is, right? That is the octave below. So since I have all the lower notes memorized, I can be like, where's G sharp? Boom. So G sharp minor, boom. And then I find this right here, okay? I like to think of the root note on the first, yeah, for sure. Also, another great point that he just mentioned, whatever note it is on the low E string is the same as the high E string. It probably took me like 4 years to realize that as a guitar player. Like, okay, I memorized all the notes on the low E string. Now I have to memorize the notes on the high E string. Well, duh, you've already done that because they're the same thing, right? This is an A, this is also an A, etc., right? So, again, back to this minor inversion, okay? The lowest note right here is the 5th. Your pinky is actually on the root note. So, you can grab this as an A minor, A sharp or B flat minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, etc., etc. So even though I'm not even playing the low E string, I'm kind of thinking of that as my guide to help me find an inversion, all right? Now another one I really like for A minor is this guy right here. Yeah, great mention. It comes out of the E form for an E minor chord, right? This right here, if we keep going back, we end up with the E minor chord, okay? So an F minor would be here, but we have to compensate for it moving, right? There's that chord. Now one of my favorite minor, not even one of my favorite minor chord voicing is this right here. Oh, how tasty is that, right? So I've got my ring finger, let's build this from the bottom up. My ring finger is on the 10th fret of the B string, which is an A, our root note. My pointer finger is on the 9th fret of the G string, which is an E, the 5th of A, A, B, C, D, E. So we still need a minor third. What's a minor third for A? I'll give you 2 seconds to answer. C, middle finger, 10th fret of the D string. So I've got 10D, 9G, 10B, A minor, B flat minor, B minor, so on and so forth, right? Now, the reason I like this a lot is because you can very easily turn this into a major 7 chord, the prettiest, most awesome chord that has ever been invented by mankind. So inside any major 7 chord lurks a minor chord, and this is the minor chord voicing we're going to use, okay? So, again, our root note is actually right here. Whatever the B string is the root. Now, the 5 is below that, and the minor third is going to be our lowest string. Okay, so this would be like a first inversion of an A minor chord. All right, now we can go from here, open A minor, to the next A minor, to the next A minor, into the octave of this. Again, depending on, if your guitar has like a cutaway, even if it doesn't, electric guitars, you can always mirror chords over the octave bar being the 12th fret. So if you're playing an A minor chord open, you can actually just scoot that 12 frets higher and then treat it as an inversion. You can still get the low A string in there. Or you can just focus on those 3 strings that you're holding down. Where, again, right here, the 2nd fret or the 14th fret, I'm thinking 2 frets past the octave bar, is an E, so the 5th is the root note there. Another great minor one is this one right here. 5th fret, bar, the bottom 3 strings. Easy as that. Doesn't get any easier. Minor chord. The 5th fret on the high E string is the same as the 5th fret on the low E string. This is an A. This is great. It couldn't be any easier. Just pinch this sucker between your thumb and your pointer finger and you play any minor chord right here. How come no one ever told you that yet? You're like, Sean, thank you so much for taking out all these secrets. Right? So A minor, G minor, E minor, whatever. Find the note on the E string, memorize the E string notes. They're really easy to do. Just learn the musical alphabet. E, F, F sharp, G. If you learn a note, you learn a chord. E, F, F sharp, G, E minor, F minor, F sharp minor, G minor. All you have to do is bar that. And again, it's part of this bigger QA in 6 minutes. I know. I'm excited for this QA. So, just some different minor chord voices we can use. Now, how this is helpful, if maybe you're even solo, you can solo through these. Into like a... You can kind of just like cycle through these little guys, throw them in with like a lick or a phrase or something like that. I think a great, for me, cool lead playing, and the way I like to do it is kind of like jumping back and forth between a scale. into different chord voicings, because those chord voicings will force you to kind of break up what you're doing and to not be noodling as much, right? When I say noodle, just like... You know, it's kind of mindless. But if you have like a plan, then maybe you can kind of take part of that scale I mean, that might be a little too disconjointed, but just, you know, as an exaggerated example of forcing yourself into chord voicings to kind of help yourself out between with different things, right? Now, I would be derelict in my duties if I didn't talk about arpeggios during this video, because I think that's one of the best ways to understand exactly what these inversions are doing, right? So we've got, like, let's stick with A minor, everybody's favorite minor chord. Let's do an A minor arpeggio. Arpeggios, you play that chord one note at a time. So like we said, that's A, a C, and E. We can get that from the A minor scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. 5, 7, 8, down a string, 5, 7, 8, down a string, 5, 7. Take the first, the third, and the fifth notes. That's gonna give us that chord, all right? A, C, E. 5E, 8E, 7A. Now, the downside to this is that we can't make a chord out of this because these two are sharing a string. So we'd have to kind of find a different way to combine those into a chord. But the great thing is we could have A, a C, and E. We can think of an inversion right off the bat by starting with a C. So we're gonna go C, E, A. Remember, because the octave A is the 7th fret on the D string. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, C, E, A. So now we're crossing 3 strings, so we can turn this into a chord. A really seldom used minor chord right here, 8E, 7A, 7D. I'm gonna jump back and forth between these two. A low one, this would be an inversion, first inversion because the minor third comes first. To the high, really easy one. Now, a great way to cycle through them is to kind of go 1, 3, 5. And again, a 1, 3, 5 makes the chord from these scales. So 1, 3, 5. The next inversion would be 3, 5, 1. And the next one would be 5, 1, 3. Okay? Now, again, this is just, I'm continuing on in the scale. This isn't going to be like a total lesson in scales, but this is a great example of why you need to know your scales. Or why it's really helpful to know your scales. Because now I can take this arpeggio and kind of work my way through these arpeggios, inversions, however you want to see them, into different chord voicings. Okay? Now, the same deal with 7 chords, somebody else. Let's do like a minor 7 chord, where we're adding the 7th note in that key, or like a flat 7 if you want to think of it in relation to the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A minor 7, A, C, E, G. 1, 3, 5, 7. 3, 5, 7, 1. Minor third, flat 7. There you go. That's right, Mike. That's exactly how you make a minor 7 chord. A 1, a flat 3, a 5, and a flat 7. Right? Same thing as taking a 1, 3, 5, 7 from the minor scale. Now again, you can get in trouble thinking of that. It's usually better to think in relation to the major scale. But just one example of how to do that. Really famous arpeggio from here is just taking the A minor scale, Stairway to Heaven style, and then kind of doing different inversions through. Yeah, I'm just walking through the scale. I've got my 1, my minor third, my 5th, and my 1 again. We're just really walking through a scale. Then we can add another note. We can add different notes on top of that, etc., etc. Okay? So that is exactly why you need to learn your scales, because they help with everything. And knowing how chords are built, to me, is the #1 most important reason to learn music theory in general. Because once you kind of understand that, it unlocks absolutely everything from different chords. Like, okay, like I don't really know how to play a G minor 7, but I can find a G, I can play through this stuff, and I can find a 1, a flat 3, a 5, and a minor 7. So even though I don't know how to play a G minor 7 off the top of my head, I can find it. Okay, G, B flat, D, F. There you go. G minor 7. I in mind wants to go first on the QA. Welcome to the QA, everybody. We passed the 30-minute mark. I'll still be talking about inversions, but please go first if anybody has any questions for your guy, Sean Daniel. I'd be happy to help you out. Happy to field them. Inversions or otherwise, whatever. What do you want to know? What's on your mind? Hopefully these are appropriate. What was the name of the song that you played to impress a girl from a few weeks back? Did I? Okay, I think you asked me a question if I'd ever played a song to, yeah, which girl? That's a better question. I mean, what song haven't I played? Here's the thing, okay? When you want to like impress somebody, different things are going to impress different people. That's why, just like we said, with a variety of inversions, variety is very important. So that's why you have to know how to play a Jason Mraz song, and that'll cover 80%. Like if you were to make like a pie chart to make sure you have like coverage, like you're like a cell phone company, you want as much coverage as possible when it comes to playing a song to impress a girl or a guy or whatever you're into, guy, girl, hey, whatever, impress anybody. It doesn't even have to be romantic. It could just be impressing a coworker in a very professional setting, right? Cheddar Kung Pao, where you been, man? Welcome to the party. Yeah, impress. Yeah. So when you're married, you might want to not go around impressing girls. I'm trying to think of what the first song I played. Let's change this question to the first song that I used to impress a girl before I had my Verizon coverage pie chart intact, because I kind of feel like, unless we're talking about like a girl who's like really into like pirate metal, then you know I'm probably out of luck at that point. But other than that. Does Justin play any other instruments? Not really. Justin's more of a guitar guy. Watching from Kenya, liking the ideas. Thank you for Victor. Thank you for reaching out and watching. I'm still trying to answer this question. What was the first song? God, I think, you know what? I think it was Glycerine by Bush, right? I think it was like, I was at a party and I had just learned this song, not even thinking that I was gonna do it. And then somebody asked like, can you play like Glycerine by Bush? And I was like, don't let the days go by. That's right. We live in a wheel where everyone steals, but when we rise, it's like strawberry fields. Yeah, that's all. It's coming back. It's flooding back to me. Yeah, so I think Glycerine by Bush was the first song that I think I impressed a girl with. There we go. Nice. Any more questions? It's gonna be hard to top that one, as far as having to go back and I wonder what the weirdest song. You know what? I remember I actually found a girl that was impressed by Elliott Smith songs, and she was like, man, she was like an 11 out of 10, and I was like, will you marry me? Like at that moment, because she's like, you know how to play Say Yes by Elliott Smith? And I was just like, what? Awesome. Is that I will never forget that. I won't forget you, Brittany Samanti. That's right. Yeah, it didn't work out though. What is your favorite body size to play for guitar? Mine is a GA, Grand Auditorium. Hey, look who you're talking to. Absolutely, GA is the size for me. If you don't know different acoustic guitar body sizes, I would say, I still think the standard is probably a Dreadnought. It's kind of like a bigger style, like Martin style guitar. This is a Martin, but this is a smaller body size. You can see that the cut still comes out wider, but it's like skinnier in the middle here. I think technically this is a Grand Performance thing, but it's really a GA, a Grand Auditorium. Have you bought any Stitch Method merchandise? Maybe a mug or a t-shirt? No! So you're talking about my buddy Ian Stitch. I have not gotten any merchandise because he told me not to get any. He's like, let me see if once it comes in, let me see the quality of it, and then maybe I'll get you one. So I'm still waiting on it. Ian is a man of shallow, empty promises, if you haven't figured that out yet. But yeah. What's more fun, hooping with friends or playing music? Whew. Man, you know what? So hooping, I'm a baller. I ball. Balling for sure. Always hooping. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Again, love playing music. It's still a huge part of my life. I do feel though when I'm playing music with friends, I always end up assuming too much responsibility. Whereas hooping, I can kind of just go out and play my game. Musically, I have to make sure everybody's all right. You know, oh, are you in tune? Blah blah blah. A little more stressful playing music with friends. That's more of a reflection upon me or my friends probably than anything else. But so I'm gonna go hooping for sure. What about what's my favorite major 7 inversion? Thank you for asking that question, myself. You ever get down on some Z? You know what? I was just thinking of ZZ Top because I got to do my riff deconstruction tonight. So I don't know. You wanted me to do cheap sunglasses, right? I was listening to that today. I don't know if that's really a great riff deconstruction one, but favorite b-ball team, the Bulls, of course. Yeah. Deep inside the light. No. Yeah. No. See, all right. So I'm from Chicago. Someone just asked me if it killed me to like the Chicago Bulls because I'm a contrarian, right? But yeah, I was born into the Bulls, so yeah, love the Bulls. Not a question, but comment for all related to triads. My opinion is everyone should study notes on the fretboard, theory intervals till you're sick of them. Cage system, take it to the next level playing. Great comment, absolutely, 100%. So to answer that one really great question I got a minute ago, what's my favorite major 7 chord voicing? Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. Oh yeah, that guy right there. So if we're taking a C major 7, right? So if I'm thinking of C on here, I'm actually going to make this kind of like a piece of it right here. We did this before with the G inversion, where the root note is on top. Now if you flatten that, we get a major 7 chord. Alright, so this is a major 7 chord voicing. I've got the 5th fret on the D, G, and B string, and the 7th fret on the high E string. Beautiful chord. You can always find a major 7 chord voicing by thinking of your root note and then flattening it. So if I know that the 8th fret is a C, that's a C major 7. If I know the 3rd fret is a G, that's a G major 7. If I know the 12th fret is an E, that's an E major 7. Major 7s sound like a rainbow on a sunny day. God, you're such a poet, Cheddar Kung Pao. It's beautiful. Same way I look at my major 7s flat and first. Absolutely, right? So I think that's a great example of when you can kind of like effectively use chord inversions, because that's what it's for. It's like almost helping you build like a roadmap in your mind of different things to kind of achieve different sounds and different variety in your playing. So one of my favorite ones, definitely. And then you can kind of work them into root position chord voicings. How do you and Justin figure out what guitar parts to play on your instrumental songs? So that is a question about the new band I'm in called Los Jefes Riffes with my man Justin Mitchell. And yeah, so for that kind of thing, we're still kind of experimenting with it. I'm kind of letting him take lead on a lot of the guitar stuff just because I can play the other instruments. So we'll see how it ends up working out. Can you record the jamming process of how creative process works, and then if it's usable post YouTube? Yeah, definitely. We're definitely gonna work into the recording process of all these songs, and a lot of inversions will be used. Again, another great note about inversions is they can kind of help unlock a lot of creativity because of that variety, right? Maybe an underline. Saying if we did an instrumental album, there'd be a power struggle. I mean, there's always a power struggle, right? What software DAW do you prefer to use? So DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, for those of you who don't know, that question is about what software I like to use to record stuff. And I'm a Logic guy, Logic Pro X, which they just did an update not too long ago. I think they're on 0.3 now. Do you use any software to aid in learning transcribing songs? I actually don't. I don't really use any software right now. I think what's actually helped me out is just by doing things by ear. So that's been really helpful to me. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I know there is a program called Notion that is really cool. I have it on iOS. I don't know if it's available on Android and stuff like that, but a company called PreSonus makes it. And that's been really helpful for just kind of like being able to compose different things on the go. You can also kind of use it to transpose things, but you know, Notion is like the one that I use. I know a lot of people are into like different scoring software like Sibelius or Finale, stuff like that. Notion is really the only software program that I've used. I think Logic can even do it actually in like MIDI form. Don't really mess with that a lot. I'm just mostly like an ear player type thing. But yeah, Logic is what I use DAW-wise. I started out on Pro Tools. And then I was working at Apple for a while, and I got a free version of Logic, and I never really looked back. How many students do you give lessons to each week? I would say probably between 22 and 28 lessons a week. Fishman triple play, you can notes and transcribe. Oh yeah, I've heard that's pretty cool actually. Yeah. On PC, I use Song Surgeon and Transcribe. Again, I'm sure those are awesome choices. I've never really heard of them, but pretty cool. Do you give piano and guitar lessons? What about drums and bass? Yeah, I also give piano and drum lessons. I think somebody asked me earlier, I'm not doing any Skype lessons right now. I'm so booked right now. Hopefully, eventually, I will be able to kind of carve out some time to do some Skype lessons. That would be really cool. But until then, there's definitely a lot of Sean Daniel on the internet teaching guitar between Guitar Controls channel and my stuff. How is the Fish cover song coming? It's not coming, not at all. Rhythm time. James Schwartz, I also use Transcribe. It's an amazing tool. Andrea, what is going on, girl? Welcome to the live chat. My good friend and favorite student, Andrea, has just joined the trap. Andrea, feel free to let the other people know what a great teacher you have, and just sing some praises, whatever you want to do. Yeah. So, what are some of the other questions that I was kind of skipping and answering? Yeah, DAW, Logic, Pro Tools. A lot of people like Reaper. That's kind of like one that's gaining a lot of steam, seemingly. Sean's all right. Yeah, thanks so much. Andrea had her first day of junior year of high school today. Let's all wish her a happy first day of junior year. Junior year, my favorite year of high school. What's your favorite year of high school, Sean? Thank you for asking. Junior year was my favorite year of high school. Better than senior year. I have no real stories to back that up, other than probably the video games that came out during that year were better. School starts, yeah, school does start early here, right? Be able to count it. Quarter note, eighth note triplets, quarter note triplets, so important to be able to count. Yeah, triplets, I'm a huge triplet guy. Once I unlock the power, maybe we should do a live stream on just like the power of triplets. Because triplets are it's God's timepiece. That's what a triplet is. Junior year was the one where I really started skipping classes a lot. Don't be like me. Yeah, come on. I'm a teacher, so I have summer to bother Sean on live streams. Yeah, it's gonna be a bummer once school starts wherever you're from, and presumably you won't have as much time to be on these live chats the whole time. But you can always carve out time to come check out an awesome, rad Guitar Control live stream, as we all can, right? Next week's is gonna be cool. I'm doing like a Beatles one. New York, your favorite state? Oh, there we go. My favorite state, the state of New York. That's where you live, huh? Man, sorry I'm not gonna be able to come out there and say hey. But yeah, let's see. More inversions. What's my favorite minor 7 flat 5 inversion? Somebody asked, I think, right? Great question. I think it would probably be that one right there. So let's take a minor 7 flat 5. Let's do something a little easier for me to play. D minor 7 flat 5, 5A, 6D, 5G, 6B. This would sound good followed by an E flat major 7. But what if we, instead of rooting it here, grabbed this right there? Yeah, right? Oh, it was a D. I should have to go all the way to a D. Anyways, this is a type of inversion that I like using into. There, you can even add that on top. Plus it just looks kind of fancy, right? Look at that. What is, what? Inversions. Now that I look at that, I don't even think that is an inversion. I think that's root position. I think it's just a hard chord to play in root position. Eventually you get to love where it doesn't even matter. What the heck, Sean? Yeah, I know. This is the sound of a live stream going off the rails. Is a 9-1-3-5 called a fourth inversion or just like a C major over D? A 9-1-3-5. Yeah, I don't think that would technically be, because you're skipping like the 7, that's like an add chord. I could be wrong, but I don't think that is technically called an inversion. I think you're right either way. I can play some crazy rhythms. I practice the same way. Mute the strings and practice every time to mix them up. Takes a few. Yeah, for sure. Great way to do it. 100%. A lot of different ways to practice. A lot of people ask like, oh, what's the best way to practice? Stuff like that. I don't even think there is a best way to practice. It's whatever it takes to get you to pick up the instrument and play something is the best way to practice. Kind of like how Andrea has been she was a little late to the live stream because she was practicing. Right? Yeah, so whatever she was doing, that's a great way to practice. That's fantastic. Anything that can get you to, you know, get inspired, find the beautiful love of music, etc., etc. Yeah, of course, right? Well, anyways, I hope, let's see, I'm exhausted. Maybe the non-vegan diet doesn't have enough protein in it. Good night. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Speaking of diet, how about a cleansing cleansing probiotic apple cider vinegar tonic for you, KeVita. If you ever try KeVita, you should try it out. This is the only good flavor. Those are the worst, she says. Yeah, she barely even tries it. It's just, yeah, that's the sound of health. That is the sound of health, the taste of health. That's like a fifth inversion of a major 11 chord. Is that even a thing? Yeah. Vegan, what can you eat? All right, we're definitely not getting into vegan conversation. Maybe we can do that over on my channel on a different live feed. But I would like to, it makes a terrible styling paste. Yeah, it really does. There are so many KeVita options, right? It's ridiculous how many of them there are. And they're all terrible except for that one. You have a hard time with veggies sometimes? You gotta cook them up, man. Add a little seasoning. Get your bring this back to chord inversions? It's too far gone, man. This live stream has become inverted. This is this third inversion of a live stream. Steam them. That's right. Steam your vegetables. That's what it's. I think the real important lesson we've learned here is you should be steaming your vegetables and also learning chord inversions. All right. So, assuming Guitar Control has me back for another one of these next week, just throw any good veggies on a grill with some. Yeah, see it? You know what's up. For protein, try soy or tofu. You know, I've been rocking the vegan thing without doing any soy or tofu. It's a lot of like all nuts and beans. I can't believe we're talking about this. Oh man, inverted. You should be good for next week. Yeah, I'll be good for next week. I'm already on a schedule. It's great they have a schedule. I've yet to see a teacher fired from Guitar Control, but we're pushing the limits of what happens here. So anyways, make sure to comment on this video. I don't even know if the Guitar Control higher ups watch these entire videos. So comment, everyone, all 17 of you who are continuing to watch, as soon as this gets off, because we can't see sadly, we can't see the comments that were happening during the live stream. You can only really see the comments, which, what the heck, YouTube? Like, that wouldn't be like a cool feature to have. Make sure, yeah, later, Los Jefes Riffes, yeah. Catch you later, man. Make sure to comment on the video after it's posted and be like, man, Sean's the greatest teacher ever. His knowledge of inversions is mind-boggling. Or any other way to say that, you know? Invert that phrase, whichever way you can to get the same meaning. Because, I'll check your work. I'm watching you, 16 people remaining in this live feed. Thanks for the fun. Tell your Guitar Control peeps hook you up for being a great teacher. Oh, hey, no, I can't. Better than the Tuesday night stream. I didn't say that. I think Stephanie does Tuesday nights, right? Oh, she probably crushed it. She's great. Oh, Andrea, you guys, stop flattering me. I told you have to wait till after this post, then flatter me. It does me no good if you flatter me right now. Wait till the post. It's posting right now, so I'm ending it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.